Wherever the energy is cheap, wherever it is closer to the ocean so that you can set up a subsea cable, and wherever the resources are reasonably priced, salaries are not very very high, that place will be the ideal place to set up a data center. And India seems to be that place which Western companies have already realized. So Indians who are getting into this service providing of AI filmmaking or AI ad making or AI influencer making or AI podcast making will probably do quite well.
Hello and welcome back to HigherEd Horizon podcast. To set the stage today, consider this: India's youth and unemployment rate sits at around 17%, and the youth make up to nearly 83% of the total unemployed population. Yet, overall national employability has climbed to 54%, a significant jump from a decade ago. So, this contradiction is the core of our discussion today. So let's look ahead. The job markets aren't shrinking, it's morphing. So we have identified some exciting emerging roles that barely existed a few years ago. So let's break those down. The In the tech space, there is a lot of talk about Gen AI and AI. So what are your thoughts about this?
So one is to break that bubble of, just learn AI and be done. Whereas what we are seeing increasingly is, so that's what, right? We are ahead of things. Initially, there was this thing about prompt engineering being a very important thing, but the AIs themselves improved. So the prompt, you give it in any format, it sort of gets it. Right? Earlier, it used to say, that, okay, you give this here, you mention double, triple quotes, you put in the information in the triple quotes, and then you do all of that, right? I don't do that as such right now. I just say, here you go, and I stuck it in there, and it figures it out. So those concepts which were initially thought as relevant as an important skill have become almost irrelevant now. Right? What has become more relevant is the technical vocabulary of what you're trying to accomplish. So if it is, let's say, a vibe coder, I want to build a simple web application, right? I say I want to log in, register and stuff, and it puts it off. That in the real world will not survive even a day, because I need to know that, okay, my passwords need to be hashed and stored, right? I need to make sure that there is, the server on which it is deployed is at least can support these many users, right? So there are many aspects that you will have to know technically, which you may not sit down and implement, right? You will have to be able to communicate it to the Gen AI, which will then be able to create it. You will still need to have the knowledge to go back and check what it produced, right, is in line with what you were expecting. So this gaining of these technical skills becomes important, and that's where I think a lot of the newer employment will also come from.
Also, when you deploy that application in production environment and the end user experiences a small little bug, it is very risky to go to AI and say, my end user experienced this bug, can you fix it for me? Because it's usually, even if it's a one line change, it will not make it as a one line change. Usually it will make a load of other changes. So you may get into this never ending cycle of fixing one thing and unknowingly introducing some other issue. So it's important in a live environment with real users where downtime can be very expensive to be able to understand what the user is experiencing, and based on that being able to review your code yourself and fix it yourself. So the Gen AI actually does help someone who knows computer programming, system design, or knows that has the technical skills already. And instead of them handwriting everything, they are speeding up their work by having quite a bit of it written by AI. And then whatever is written by AI, they understand it. And if there is a need for it to be debugged, they can debug it by themselves.
So, looking at the immense scale of solar and wind energy projects and the national push for EV charging infrastructure and smart grids, how does this translate into job creation?
Yeah, there's a huge investment announcements from large large corporations such as Reliance and Adani. Reliance is planning to spend around $10 billion in the upcoming years to set up a huge solar farm. And Adani has also announced an investment of 21 billion to set up solar and wind, and then including the transmission by 2032, they plan to spend around $60 billion. So when you are talking about solar, it's not just building or manufacturing the solar panels or setting up the solar panels. So once you have solar panels manufactured, which will also have, in the factories there will be need for control systems engineers, electrical engineers. Then after the solar panels are made, they have to be installed, right? So when they got installed, there will be need to set up posts, and those posts are construction. That's construction work. There may be some mechanical work also needed, and then you will have electrical work to connect all the panels together, connect it to the grid. That's the work of that's electrical work done, or electricians and electrical engineers. So there is going to be huge demand for um, civil engineering people, electrical engineering people, and to some extent mechanical engineering people, but not to the same level as civil and electrical. And there will also be demand for electricians and demand for construction, you know, trade skills people. They could have gained those trade skills by going to an ITI, or could have done a diploma, or they could have gained the trade skills informally, like many in India learn it by being an assistant to someone. So those skills will have a lot of demand in the upcoming years because the infrastructure investments are huge.
Can we talk a little bit about these trade skills? We will, as you mentioned, we will be seeing growth in EV technicians, solar panel installers, and healthcare and logistics technicians. Are these vocational roles now providing clearer, better paying career pathways than some traditional degrees?
I mean, it's all about how many people do you need, right? So if you are setting up a large solar farm, say, acres of solar farms, you do not need as many engineers as you need actual people who are doing the work, right? What do you need engineers for? You need engineers to design and plan the layout. And then once the design is done, someone who is actually setting up the solar panels is typically not going to be an engineer. So the most number of jobs in all, historically also always has been the people who actually have the trade skill, who can put things together, right? It's just skewed that many people try to be engineers, but not many people want to go for trade skills. But now that infrastructure development is happening in India itself, right, and in that infrastructure development there is only going to be a role of an engineer is only limited, right, and the workers are needed in lot larger numbers, and that's what we are seeing. In the past, most of the people who did engineering would get into a computer science field. So there was an international demand for computer science programmers from all over the world who would hire computer science engineers in India. So this created an perception that if you do computer science, you get a job, and or if you do engineering and you get some job, and lifestyle will improve, and it's going to be enhance the you know prospects of a person getting a job as if they do an engineering degree. But that has now skewed the market where everyone wants to be an engineer. Even if you build a house, think of a house now. If my house was getting built, how many people, how many electricians will be needed to set up the house? Maybe at least one or two, right? One person would be needed. How many carpenters would be needed to set up to build a house in 2 to 3 months? You need at least three to four carpenters, maybe more. How many masons would be needed? You need at least two to three masons, right? How many flooring guys would you need? You need some of them. But now compare the ratio to how many engineers you needed or how many architects you needed. Architects, probably you need one for like 30 houses, because all the 30 houses could be built based on the same design. So you need one architect for maybe 30, 40, or even 100 homes, right? You mean if all the houses follow similar engineering design, then you need maybe one design engineer who would have designed all the homes, and maybe one engineer to oversee it once in a while, not even all the time. and but you need so many construction people. So similar is going to happen in everywhere, whether it is building a house or building a factory or setting up a solar farm. The number of engineers needed will be way lesser than number of trade skill people need.
Can you talk a little bit about cross-sector jobs, like roles like product manager, data analyst, and digital marketing? These are also becoming a bit vital in every sector right now, be it banking or healthcare. So, how can these non-tech roles? Why are these non-tech roles also a bit crucial in the tech industries today? Can we talk a little bit about that?
Yeah. So if whenever you create something, right? Um, Now you have created it, but then create the creation is not going to turn into a business unless you are able to have a customer for it, right? So the only way you can get a customer for a creation that you have created is if you are able to market it and sell it. So marketing and sales is the life, like it's like the um, you know it, it's absolutely essential, right? For any company, if there is no marketing and sales, the company will not exist, however good their product might be. So that's why you will see, whether it is good market, bad market, sales and marketing jobs are always going to be there. Even right now, when in tech many companies are not hiring, because they are not hiring because they're saying that quite a bit of their work is done by AI, and the number of people that they need are not going to be the same as what they needed before. But now that they are able to create the same product, or they're able to create more than what they were able to create before, there needs to be there's still need for people to sell those products. So if you go to Naukri or college.dev or Indeed or LinkedIn, any one of the job platforms, you'll see lots of sales and marketing jobs. So sales and marketing jobs always exist, right?
Yeah, I mean, so we have noticed that, and you also, I think we've seen it in the past. There are products which, for example, a very popular product now we have for food delivery and stuff. But there were food delivery apps before this as well. And sometimes it's not, a lot of times it's not only the product, it's the final outreach and how it's placed in the market and how you identify prospective customers and reach out to them becomes more important for building that business than the original product itself. In this area, one of the things that we have noticed through our personal experience in terms of growth in jobs is in the banking and finance side. Because of this, growth of the bottom end of the pyramid and their access to banking, there is more and more interest on the banks side to go and provide these customers with new, products on their end. For example, even the insurance, investment being cleared, such that you can have foreign investment directly into insurance sectors as well, has opened up a lot more of this. And so these entry level sales and business development roles I have seen sort of spring up a lot now.
Yeah, and there many people say this saying. I don't know where the saying came from. They say product is king, distribution is god. So you may have a great product, but distribution is far more important than that. If you cannot distribute that product, then what's the point of having that product? Right? So there are many products which are actually better than the products that become successful, or that get a lot of users. The difference was not the quality of the product; it was that the other company was better at promoting it. So there, with this, another thought comes to mind is that influencers of today have a easy way to distribute whatever they are associated with, whether that association is through a partnership or a brand deal with someone else's product is there, and now they are pushing that product to their subscriber base or their viewer base, or they have created a product of their own. Just because of the trust they have gained with their viewers, they are able to easily push it. So now they have huge distribution and easy distribution, right? So now influencing of today is going to be very different from influencing of tomorrow, right? Or advertising of today is going to be very different than advertising of tomorrow. Advertising is big in India. You make an ad, you put it on national media, the whole country gets to see it. If it's a memorable ad, everybody remembers it. They remember the jingle, right? So ads are very, very effective in India. But traditionally, the creation of the ads or influencing needed you to be present, be able to have a good screen presence. You needed to be interesting and articulate. But with AI being able to create characters, and AI being able to, you can even have AI based podcasts in 6 months to a year. Is influencing going to be the same as what it is today? Is advertising going to be the same as today? Is filmmaking going to be the same as today? Probably not. It's going to change quite a bit. So this is another area of growth I'm seeing happening from India, because India is realizing, many people in India are realizing now that this filmmaking is becoming super easy, and there are companies around the world who would want these kind of filmmaking and influencing to be done for cheap. They are becoming the outsourced agencies to manage this making of content utilizing AI. Recently in Mumbai, there was an AI filmmaking festival they hosted, where people got together to have workshops and learn from each other. So there are lots of creators in India who are realizing this is a huge multi-billion-dollar opportunity. Just like software became a big opportunity for India in the past, this AI-based filmmaking, ad making, influencer making, influencer management will also become another industry in India, outsourced
Yeah, we
industry in
can
India.
see it taking shape. I think at least on one of the OTTs that I have subscribed to, I did see the first fully AI based series that has come up. And from the trailers, it looks quite good. We have to see what it actually looks like. But at least it's already there in production and being put out.
Yeah. And what we are able to see today is going to be very different from what we'll see 1 year down the line, right? So people who are getting into it are not thinking about it with its capability of today. They are thinking about it what it will be 2 to 3 years from now. You'll be indistinguishable from, you can't distinguish between the AI or non-AI. You may need a tool or some kind of another program to identify is it AI or not AI. And then you will be easily able to create ads, stories, small movies, or maybe even full-length movies at some point. And someone who is associated with it today, even though it may not be perfect, they will be far ahead of someone else who's going to start 2 years, 3 years from now when it's already perfect, when it is already perfect, right? So Indians who are getting into this service providing of AI filmmaking or AI ad making or AI influencer making or AI podcast making will probably do quite well.
Yeah, I think it's become now it's an essential skill for those previously in digital marketing. Their sort of role might shift more towards something like this.
Yeah. I mean, currently many people say, "Oh, I don't like to see these AI ads. They're annoying. I want to see real people," right? But the line between the real and AI is going to become so blurred
Very
over
blurry.
time,
Yeah.
right? So even though you may feel like, "Oh, I don't like this AI. I don't want to get into this field because end users don't like it." But if you read the tea leaves, the line is going to be blurred so much that 3 years down the line you will not be able to tell the difference. And someone who is shooting the film the old traditional way, they will not be competitive anymore because their cost to run the business will be way higher than what an AI maker would have been able to do it. Maybe in some scenes you may need to shoot, which the AI may not be able to do well. So it will be hybrid, right? CGI right now, right? In CGI, what do? Right, computer generated imagery in the movies, they will have a combination of CGI and a person, an actor will be there too, right? Just like here's the CGI, in CGI there are actors also, there's like a hybrid. Same thing will happen with AI and non-AI generated content, where majority of it could be AI and some parts are done using real actors, and blended all together you can't tell the difference between the two.
So moving on to the next segment, let's look at job growth by sectors. We must acknowledge the sheer scale of investments, recent corporate commitments in India, especially, which will define the job market for years. So we are talking about multiple billion dollar investments. specifically targeting AI, deep tech, and core infrastructure. So, for example, Google is investing $15 billion over 5 years to build its first AI hub and 8 gigawatts. No, sorry, I'm not sure about the gigawatt scale center in a campus in Vishakhapatnam. This project alone is projected to generate over 1 lakh direct and indirect jobs in various sectors. So, can we talk a little bit about that? What sectors would that be? What kind of job roles would that be?
Yeah, so Google announced this $15 billion investment. I think they find Vishakhapatnam to be an attractive place. There's a lot of talent available in the area, right? And it is also a coastal town. So they are able to get a deep sea cable directly to Vishakhapatnam. So with that, they can offload some of the AI workloads to India, and it will be connected with very high bandwidth connection directly to the US. Similarly, other companies are also realizing it's a huge opportunity to set up data centers in India. And there are some other non-data center related investments also happening. Let's go through one by one. So one is the Google's AI hub investment for $15 billion, which is happening primarily in the Vishakhapatnam area. Then there is also Amazon's expansion. They are also setting up, doing investment and expanding in Maharashtra.
Cloud
I
infrastructure.
believe, huh?
It's cloud infrastructure?
Yeah, same thing. Data center, cloud infrastructure is the
Oh,
same as the data center. So then there's Amazon's expansion, which is also planning to invest around $8.2 billion, and they are doing it in Maharashtra. It is for cloud infrastructure, which is basically same as data center, different name for the same thing.
okay.
So it's obviously going to increase opportunity for many people in Maharashtra there. Then there is NTT entities data's data centers. So this is another data center company. They are planning to set up 500 megawatt capacity data center with a submarine cable directly to India, similar to the Google's. They have not given a number on how much investment they are making, but it's a 500 megawatt capacity is pretty large, so it's expected that it's going to also generate a lot of jobs in India. Then, in addition to that, there are other investments such as Foxconn's manufacturing plant investments, right? So they are setting up plants in Chennai, Bangalore, Hyderabad, and this is going to be a semiconductor plant also being set up in Uttar Pradesh. So there are going to be lots of engineering and associated jobs created there in Foxconn um, plants as well. Then there is also expected. We also expect a lot of food processing sector investments in India. But these are in local Indian companies and international foreign companies such as Coca-Cola, Amul, Nestle. They are expanding their facilities. So as people move up in their um, per capita income, the expenses on packaged foods automatically increases. India's GDP is also growing around 6-7% every year. That itself will be create an increased demand for um, these kinds of consumer items where the companies will need to invest to meet the demand. So there is a opportunity of growth there, and that's also going to create opportunity for many people. India is also refining a lot of petroleum, right? Some of it is coming from Russia or other places. They refine it and they sell it to the whole world. They might be exploring more petroleum in Indian waters and in India itself. There's going to be need to refine those. So there are opportunities in um, petroleum refinery refining as well, and the associated jobs will also be created there. Right? So what are the numbers that we're looking at? Microsoft Azure data center, which is being set up, most likely going to be set up in Telangana. The place uh, they're saying is called Megaguda in Telangana. So it's uh, just the construction jobs, around thousands of construction jobs, right? Um, that it's going to contribute around 1.5 million jobs in India over the 5 years, including 169,000 skilled jobs. Yeah, so it indirectly and directly it's going to create a huge impact in India. construction workers, data center technicians, cloud engineers, AI specialists, IT support staff, facility managers. They will all be needed in this data center. Um, so construction, civil, HVAC. So anything a typical data center would have, kind of roles a typical data center would have. This Azure data center has the same. Same thing will go with the NTT data center. Same thing will go with the Google data center. I think it's better if we figure out what are the typical roles in a data center and how to prepare for those roles, right? Let's focus on the data center roles because there seems to be a common theme among most of the investments is that they're mostly data center related. Some are other than data center also, but most of them are data center related. To set up a data center, what kind of roles are usually there and how to prepare for those roles? For example, if you're setting up a data center, it's not just like servers are going to be set up directly, right? You first need a building to set up the servers. There needs to be some, you know facility where the servers would go. So there will be need to civil and structural site engineers, foremen, supervisors, draftsmen to create the facility. There will be electrical engineers needed, there will be mechanical engineers needed, right? Fire and safety, telecom and cabling people, site managers, right? You need to organize and manage all of it. So that's the construction phase, to build out the facility where the data center is going to be set up. That's the phase one, the construction phase. The phase two is usually the operations and maintenance phase, right? So now you have to set up everything inside the facility. You have to set up mechanical, electrical stuff. You have to have facility managers who manage this stuff. You have to set control systems. When such large facilities are set up, there's usually a control system. uh, Instrumentation engineers would typically be setting it up, so you need those kind of people as well. Then you need to get networking into the facility. You need networking engineers, you need system engineers, data center technicians, cloud infrastructure operations, such as the people who know AWS, Azure, Google Cloud Foundations. And the system engineers are those who know operating systems such as Linux, Windows, virtualization, rack. And then we need server technicians, server hardware technicians who can do rack assembly, BIOS configuration, RAID, hot swappable maintenance. So the people who are in these roles right now, they may be technicians in some other company. Those people will see huge demand. And someone who hasn't picked a career path yet, these are easier career path. They are not as hard as computer programming. Being a data center technician is an easy way to get in, easy skill to
Get into
gain,
the field,
easy
yeah.
way to get a job. And then whenever you set up a data center, it also has to meet security and safety compliances. In order to meet the security safety compliances, it needs to be closely monitored. So in any data center, you'll see lots of cameras, and the cameras are usually network, and they have to be set up. So the people who have the ability to set up cameras, set up the central control panel, for control monitoring station for cameras, recording for cameras, those kind of people will also be needed because they will need to set up for all the data centers. You need cybersecurity analysts, right? People who have CompTIA certifications, SOC, awareness of SOC certifications, vulnerability management. Those will be needed. Compliance officers who know ISO 2000, 27001, SOC 2, HIPAA. So those kind of compliance officers will be needed as well. NOC operators who manage the network operation center, 24/7 monitoring tools, um, capacity planners, service desk coordinators. So all these skills are typical skills in a data center, which many people may already have in India right now. But then that's going to increase. That demand is going to increase many fold with all these investment from all these companies. Right. There are other indirect jobs also, right? So when you're setting up such a large operation, there will be some software and automation required. Then you will need some software. Um, you will need some solar panels to be set up in such a large data center. People will say, try to save on energy by putting solar panels on the roof. Then you will need some solar specialist for each one of the data centers. You need telecom ISP people who will connect the data center to a telecom backbone. So what are the typical tracks? How does someone get these skills? Some people may already have the skill. They may be already working in another company, they will see the most demand because they have the expertise to get going right away, and they will be the ones who will provide training to the new people who will join. Now I'm seeing my friends who used to work in data centers, they're getting super blockbuster offers, in companies like at very high positions. All of a sudden, their career path is like going up like anything, right? Because they are the ones with expertise, and considering the demand is high at the moment, people can't find people with expertise in this area. But what about the new ones who are not in the workforce yet? So ITIs, if you're in if you want trade skill type of job, because most of the jobs will be trade skill type of job, right? Engineers are not going to be needed as many as the people who are actually doing the job, like electricians, carpenters, masons, welders, right? HVAC specialists, computer hardware technicians, networking technicians, right? Those kind of skills you can gain at ITIs or by a diploma, doing a diploma. So diploma schools and ITIs will provide those, and then you can also take certifications such as CCNA, Security Plus, Network Plus, which can get people to put their foot in the door, and then they can gain more skills when they get the job. And what fields, if they are doing engineering, the engineering jobs are not going to be as many as the trade skill jobs are going to be, but there will still be some. And what engineering degrees will be required? Mostly anything to do with networking, right? So which could be electrical engineering, or IT. And then there was also, to set up the infrastructure, you will need civil engineers, mechanical engineers, and set up power, because data centers require a lot of power. So you need people with electrical engineering skills. And now that you have set up a data center, it creates a lot of heat, and you have to manage the heat. What do you need? You need HVAC people. You need people who can manage HVAC or design HVAC units for these data centers, and you need actual HVAC technicians to set that up. So the number of HVAC technicians needed will be way larger than the engineers needed, right? And then when you have such a large operation to be managed, you also need someone to manage or plan the operations. So that's why you need project managers. So whether you are setting up a solar farm or you are setting up a data center, you will need project managers. And the skills for a project manager, somebody might do an MBA and then become a project manager, or somebody may get a project management professional certification and show their expertise that way, or somebody may work in some company as a project manager and then try to get into these companies as project managers for one of these projects, such as setting up the solar farm, or working in a data center to set up a data center. So project management skills will also be greatly needed, right? If we have to um, if I have to rank them in terms of where the highest demand will be, right? Rank one, rank two, rank three. I would say, in terms of rank, if we had to put it as ranking, not giving consideration to whether it's an engineering role or a trade skill role combined. So the highest demand is going to be for power and cooling systems, right? So someone who has a technician that can work with power to lay cables, connect electrical systems together, and people who can cool down, who can work with cooling. So like I said, data centers create a lot of heat, and the heat has to be managed. And someone who has already expertise in HVAC, whether industrial HVAC, even better. Even if it's residential HVAC, the skill is kind of transferable. And if they are willing to work in a data center, there will be, quite a demand for it. Then in order to set up the infrastructure, set up the actual servers in a data center, you need to set the hardware in the racks. You need, like we talked before, you need to be able to understand RAID. You need to understand hot swapping. You need to be able to take the servers out of the rack, fix them, put them back, open them. So these technicians will also be greatly needed. Server hardware maintenance technicians. Then there will be, okay, all the servers will need to be networked. They need to, wires will need to go from the servers to the switches to the hubs, to, or whatever network infrastructure is there. So you need people who understand networking, whether they have certifications such as CCNA, CCNP, and beyond, CCI or beyond, Juniper certifications. And then you have operating systems running on these servers, which could be Linux operating system, Windows operating system, or they could be virtual machines running on them, right? So we need people with that kind of expertise. uh, then we need cloud infrastructure operations people with expertise in AWS, Azure, or anything similar. Then we need security certifications people like cybersecurity who have understanding of ISO 27001, SOC 2. Then we also talked about automation. We have a control panel to manage the whole building, and we have sensors to detect temperature in the building, HVAC turning on, HVAC turning off. If there is a fire alarm turning on, fire sprinklers turning on. That's all controlled through control systems. That's the work of control systems technicians and instrumentation engineers. Fire and safety, project management, and documentation. And then there is renewable power integration, such as if you have solar panels, you may have also batteries to keep the operations running 24/7. So even if there is a power cut, the data center continues to work. So for that, we need renewable power integration specialists who can work with solar and battery storage. So these are the top 10, uh, as we expect them to be.
I think along with it, a lot of logistics, supply chain type jobs may also come into play for the infrastructure laying out itself and an ongoing operations as well. I think that's another area that's likely to have.
Correct. Yeah. I mean, there's a huge infrastructure or investment being done by companies like Amul, we talked about, right? So you need cold chain operations to go from wherever the manufacturing plant is all the way till reaches the consumer. So cold chain, um, supply chain, and storage, there will also be huge growth there. That has been happening in India for quite some time. That's not new, right? Logistics growth has been happening in India and it will continue to grow.
Yeah. I think a significant amount of gain is to be made from certain areas of efficiency improvement. So, like improvement of roads, improvement of transportation. These are low hanging fruit where just by improving efficiency, it can improve the growth that you're having.
Yeah. And if someone wants to get ready for these careers, they can start now and um, maybe start with certifications related to networking and security, because certifications do not cost a lot of money. That's not like going to college where you have to spend significant amount of money in tuition, in fees and everything. And it doesn't take years. You go to college, it takes 2 years for a master's degree and 4 years for a bachelor's. Certifications, if somebody studies on their own, within 3 to 4 months of preparation, they can pass the certification. So one day you go for a test, you take the test, and you're certified. So certifications will be a good way to go. And then be open minded to relocate, because most of these investments are happening in certain states. So probability of someone getting an opportunity if they're already in, say, Hyderabad or Telangana or Maharashtra is likely going to be more if you are in this data center skill space where you have the skills and you're looking for an opportunity.
All these certifications, I just have one question. Should fresh graduates prioritize doing their coursework, or should they prioritize doing these certifications and just getting into the job market ASAP, even if it's at a lower level?
I mean, India, the problem with India is that there are lots of applicants. If you honestly ask any employer, do you really care about someone gotten 80% or a first class in their college degree? Does it really make a difference in how they perform when they get a job? Most of them will tell you it doesn't make any difference. They would, if it was possible for them to interview everybody, they would interview everybody. But realistically, it's not possible for them to interview everyone. If we put a job posting with a good pay, 6 7 8 9 lakh pay, we get 5,000 6,000 applications. How can you humanly look at 5,000 applications? How can you interview that many people? It is not possible to interview that many people. So what's the simplest way for employer to narrow down the number to a manageable number? They will say that you should have a degree, and then in that degree you should have gotten 60%, 70%, whatever's cutoff they set up. And with that cutoff, it will filter out, say, 80, 90%, and now it becomes a relatively manageable number. So even though someone would do a certification and they could say, I have the skills to do the job, but it may, because of this cutoff, they may miss out the opportunity to be even considered, right? So they should try to get a good score. Not that it's going to greatly add to their abilities where they will do fair a lot better in an interview, because just because there are too many applicants and you have to stand out. And in addition to now having a good score so that your application can be considered, then you need to have these certifications also. If you cannot do them during the school time because you have been very busy in school to get good grades, then you should try to do them soon after you graduate. Yeah. I mean,
Yeah.
there is also, if somebody is confident at speaking, right, and they are open minded to not have a purely technical role. It can be technical, but it could be technical sales. Sales is not a bad role to be in. It's not unusual for a sales guy in a company to become senior vice president or sometimes even the CEO, because someone who generates the money, who generates revenue, they're always valued in the company, right? So somehow we have given it a, very, sales jobs are not looked in the same way as a, core technical job in India. They're looked down upon when people graduate and they say, I'm going to take up a sales job. Somehow other people don't look at it in the same way. And even if you have a good sales job available, even though someone may be really good at sales, they'll say, no, I don't want to do it, I want to do a technical job. Do you have a Python programmer job available? Do you have a full stack developer job available? Do you have a mobile app developer job available? Even if the mobile app developer job might be paying less and the sales job might have, you know possibility of making a lot more money, they will in many cases take up a technical job, because in the people's mind that technical job will end up being a better job in the long run, right? Which is not true. If you are in good at sales and if you do technical sales, it is a transferable skill in whatever, as long as you have track record of being able to meet your numbers. Wherever you go, they will value you because you have met your numbers in your previous job. So if people have good communication skills and they like talking to people, it is not a bad idea to be a salesperson. And it is AI proof. No one can take the job. No AI can take a job of a salesperson,
That's
right?
true.
Even if you go to Indeed or LinkedIn or wherever you go right now, you may have seen technical jobs have all of a sudden reduced. It will come back, like you said, there are huge investments happening in India. They may be related to infrastructure development and they may be related to data centers, but they will come back. It may not be a coding job, it may be something else, but jobs are going to come back. But even now, when the jobs are relatively less, you will see lots of sales jobs.
Okay, to wrap up today's session, and let's provide our audience with three or four concrete, actionable takeaways that they can take. So, we've already kind of touched on this point, but what is the single most important action a fresher can take right now, whether if it's getting certified in an emerging area or a trade skill to make themselves immediately employable? What would you say? Data
Yeah.
center is there, obviously.
Try to gain a skill which is related to setting up of data centers, because of the amount of investment that's happening in India to set up data centers. There is an expectation that if there are, say, 4 or 5 companies that have shown intentions to set up a data center in India now, with the infrastructure it will create in India, so like submarine cables and everything to set that will be set up for, say, Google data center or NTT data center or the Microsoft data center, that will make it attractive for other data centers also to set up in India, because now the resource pipeline will be generated by them, and also infrastructure, subsea cabling infrastructure will also be set up. So I feel that data center outsourcing will become a big opportunity in India, especially with the amount of energy that India is trying to create with solar panels, because Reliance is investing in it, Adani is investing in it. So uh, creation of power, creation of will become cheaper in India, and India is also making nuclear power plants. Wherever the energy is cheap, wherever it is closer to the ocean so that you can set up a subsea cable, and wherever the resources are reasonably priced, like there is, salaries are not very very high, that place will be the ideal place to set up a data center, and India seems to be that place which Western companies have already realized, and that's why all these investment um, announcements are coming up. And I feel these investment announcements to set up data centers will keep increasing. It will be there, more and more will come with time. And if that is going to be the case, having skills related to the setting up of data centers or ongoing management or maintenance of data centers will be a great skill to have. If somebody is graduating from college right now, this will be a great place to be, because people who graduate from colleges, majority of them were anyways not either interested in computer programming or were not skilled enough to do computer programming. Computer programming is very hard. In a class of say 60 students, hardly 6 to 10 people are able to do it. Most of them were not able to do it. They would try to do it for many years and then they would eventually give up. So most people will end up with technical support, product management, some other role, right? Mostly technical support roles. So not most people were not getting into computer programming anyways, right? So most of the people can easily get into these networking jobs. Networking jobs are not as complex as computer programming jobs were, right? So a lot more people will be able to get good at all of these skills, whether it is, you know computer networking skills, whether it is operating system skills, whether it is cybersecurity skills, whether it is um, monitoring, right, camera monitoring skills. So try to get into any of these skills that try to gain any of these skills which are needed in a data center, and then be willing to relocate to a place where the data center is going to be set up. And then second is that you need to be able to create an impression when you go for an interview. Just having the certification and then you can't even have, present yourself well, you don't even have a good greeting, you don't can't make eye contact, then that's going to put you at a disadvantage compared to someone else who may not even be as good as you in technically, but they are presentable, because the company will think that okay, this person can communicate well with other people, and they can also communicate to people in other parts of the world. Because if the data center by Google or Microsoft is going to be set up in India, the people that they interact with, where the data centers are likely going to be managed from, are going to be in other parts of the world. So they will need people who can communicate well with people from all over the world. So the communication skills become as much important, right? So get into this habit of speaking. You know, speak in front of your front the pick a topic to speak about, and just start speaking and record yourself. When you hear yourself with your own recording, that becomes an incredibly great feedback. With that feedback, the person can keep improving over time. Right? And the third thing is that if you want to have another skill on the side, which is something that you can do moonlight, or you can just do it as a hobby, or maybe that's a career that you may like more in the long run, is this AI filmmaking. Because now if you had interest in making films, or you enjoyed films, or you enjoyed ads, earlier it was not possible for you to do it because it took huge investment. You have to have a cameraman, you have to have a camera, you have to have lighting, right? You have to have a set, you have to book a place where you can manage, you can do all of that. You have to book a set to do all of that, or you have to book a location for it, you have to book actors for it. So it was not possible for them to make video clips. Now with just a computer and understanding of cinematography and some direction, you'll be able to give a good prompt to an AI and it will generate the video for you. So this AI filmmaking is also a great skill to have. So if today you are going to be working somewhere and tomorrow you decide you want to be a freelancer, or you want to be have your own company which provides the same service, and you want to market your company, you want to create an ad for that company, you want to create a social media campaign for that company, these skills are going to help you. So some skill on the side you want to gain in addition, that would be the AI filmmaking.
All right. So to recap, students should probably look at building a personal learning roadmap for the next 12 months, possibly a data center setup, HVAC, everything that includes in data center, be it maintenance, ongoing special systems, exactly everything, and then AI filmmaking. So yeah, the this conversation was really insightful, at least for me. Thank you to the amazing panel for joining me on this episode of the Higher Ed Horizon. If this conversation helped you, share it with a friend, a classmate, or anyone preparing for their first job. Thank you.